All right, people, I think I see what might be going on here with this Concord thing. It appears that PlayStation wanted to replicate a phenomenon that happened a while ago with a live service game. This fee of about 200 to 600 million, according to some estimates, to me doesn't sound too crazy. What sounds crazy is that in their bid to replicate it, they let that game out of production. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Let's take a look at this from a different perspective. One of the things I love to do here is actually look at this whole thing from a different angle that maybe nobody else might look at. I haven't seen anybody talk about this angle, but it's one that is quite obvious there for everyone to see. Colin Moriarty shared on his podcast that this game, according to an insider who reached out to him with some information, would have cost somewhere over the 400 million mark minus, and this is not even including the cost of acquiring the studio. The estimates are now starting to climb with that cost actually put into the mix. However, there's something that I want to point out, especially when you hear what has been going on in this whole conversation, which is that there was a culture of toxic positivity where you could not in any way criticize this game because Herman Holst, according to reports, and I'm not saying that he said this, but I'm just saying according to what the reports are saying, considered this the future of PlayStation. I think they wanted to abandon Activision as their huge source of income. They were trying their best and wanting to bring out, say, an Overwatch style game instead of having to depend on Call of Duty and Overwatch and all of the microtransactions that they were getting from these games and make a game in the liking of Destiny. Now, many of you might be like, well, then why would they spend all that money if they wanted to make a game in the liking of Destiny? I'm glad you asked. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we gamers sometimes we, are very good at, in a sense, forgetting, and it's just human behavior. But if we actually go ahead and take a very good look at some statistics, we're going to realize that Destiny actually did cost a lot of money to bring to the market. This is not something that is out of line with what we've seen before. Go ahead and take a look at this particular article. It says Activision is reportedly spending $500 million on a single game. May 6, 2014. This is time.com. Activision is making $500 million bet on a single video game. At a Los Angeles conference last week, CEO Bobby Kotick said that his company would pour $500 million into Destiny, an upcoming massively multiplayer online first-person shooter being developed for the PlayStation 3, 4, Xbox One, and Xbox 360. The game comes from Bungie, the makers of Halo series, so it has a high pedigree and a mountain of hype. But the figure may still be unprecedented in the gaming industry, especially for a new IP. Activision did not respond to a request for comment. Typically, lavish budgets are reserved for franchises with proven popularity. Last fall's GTA 5 estimated cost $160 million to produce. The Destiny figure dwarfs that, but an Activision spokesperson clarified to Reuters that the budget includes marketing, packaging, infrastructure, support, royalties, and more. So, this kind of fee, in terms of the development, I think the PlayStation, top dogs wanted to see this kind of a return in terms of this game. They probably were not just going to stop at those production costs. It seems to me that they were going to continue if the game had the acceptability or it actually resonated with fans. Ladies and gentlemen, if this is true, the delusion or the thing they must be drinking must have been really strong. Pardon me, those of you that are on the PlayStation side, those of you that are, PlayStation fans that don't want to hear anything bad about PlayStation. You're deflecting in the comment section whenever we talk about these things. We need to talk about them for the health of the gaming industry. I'm going to have to, say that I apologize ahead of time, but I'm going to probably have to block you from commenting on the channel because, again, you guys have reached this point where it's like, okay, can we even have an honest conversation anymore as to all what is going on? Because, again, yes, this, report is from Colin Moriarty and an anonymous source, no problem, but at least the fact that, these games would have at least cost on the conservative side of $200 million, not including the amount of money used to actually acquire the studio, and then the game is gone, obliterated from existence, is already troubling at the end of the day. I saw somebody citing in the comment section Astrobot, somebody telling me an IGN report which said that PlayStation had made 160 billion, making this, generation their most profitable generation. And I'm thinking to myself, what do I care about that? The goal of this conversation is not about profits and losses. The goal about this conversation is about mismanagement and being out of touch with what gamers actually want. Isn't it crazy to think that somewhere, somehow, that in the whole decision making space, that an executive or a series of leaders thought that this game called Concord was one that was actually viable in the market in today's day and age? Like, think about it. The one thing that actually made Concord fail was not necessarily, the fact that it wasn't developed well, or it was broken or buggy or had performance issues at launch. It was simply because the game failed at its artistic presentation to a community of gamers that already had an expectation of what art should look like and what art can come from PlayStation Studios. There's also the side where right now there seems to be in a sense, a purposeful squabble between some gamers in the gaming faction and developers who have positioned themselves against developers. You don't go around talking to your bosses anyhow. I think what Concord and a lot of these developers are learning right now is that their real bosses are the gamers. Don't worry, you'll learn. If you don't know it, you need to know it. You see, I'm in a position where, we're dialing into trying to make a video game. As much as I come here and I basically put my foot on the neck of PlayStation, I still know who my bosses are. If I ever were to make a video game, I would know it's the audience that I'm marketing that game, to. I'm not going to basically target or, demean that audience. I'll probably maybe, smack talk at PlayStation as a company or whatnot, but your audience is a very, very critical part of your success in that regard. If they're not your audience, if you know what I mean, then you can talk all kinds of nonsense, but the money that's on the line is life-changing money. I'm talking money that pays multiple paychecks that are farther from just you. So when this all is said and done, ladies and gentlemen, I think here we have pretty much somebody that had been, or I guess a lot of developers that in a sense, did not bother to say that something was wrong with this game. And the whole let's try to make Destiny or whatnot was probably what they were pursuing, or maybe Overwatch, or let's use a Destiny budget to back an Overwatch style game. And then that whole trend just probably died before the game came out of its own studios. And now here we are in a position where, the whole thing has become a nightmare. It's become a mess at the end of the day. Whew. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. This is just wild overall. I think this chasing of live service games has also harmed, a lot of other publishers. I think it's, if you think about Suicide Squad is no longer in the news because that one, at least, even though it lost the company money, it was still respectable and still exists. I mean, even though many players are not going to play it anymore, but it still at least exists to be, something that is a product that you can still get your hands on. But at the end of the day, Concord is just wild. Like, not a single cent made so far. Now, I know how these things, might work. I'm not saying I know exactly how it'll work. They're going to chalk it up to the losses. They're going to save on taxes from profits that they could make. But this is just wild at the end of the day. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys so much. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.